carry on. What a beautiful day. Still on lockdown, but a good day to be alive nonetheless. BKS Iyengar said that the hardest position to learn in yoga is Tadasana. He also said, why do you want to learn to stand on your hands when you don't yet know how to stand on your feet properly? I think he had a point. Most of us tend to slouch in one part of our body and we tend to put our weight on one leg. Remember I said before that yoga is about balance but also about equilibrium? Well, Tadasana is the starting point for many yoga sequences, but it's also the starting point for our understanding of this equilibrium that we're striving for. This is the first of 5 short videos to explain the positions that we're going to adopt in the sun salutation. This particular video is just going to show us Tadasana, which is a standing pose, seemingly quite simple, but there's a great deal of detail in this position. It's a meditative position. It's very interesting. We're going to show you how to adopt the position, how to stand, how to breathe, and also an explanation of the body parts that are involved in this position. Pro tip, it's all of them. It looks like you are just standing there, but nothing could be further from the truth. This is a very demanding asana. First off, the difference between Tadasana and Samasthiti. Basically, they are the same position, but there is a subtle difference in the Sanskrit words. Tadasana means mountain pose. Tada is mountain, and asana, as we know, is a seat or posture. Now, if you think of a mountain, you think of something solid, permanent, timeless, and if you think about it, balanced. You're not going to tip it over very easily. This is what Tadasana is asking you to do, to be solid and balanced and equal. Now, Samasthiti is an Ashtanga term meaning ready pose. The literal translation is Sama, which means the same or equal, and Sthiti means to establish, to stand, and interestingly, to persevere. So an equal and steady pose. Samasthiti is the starting point for all of the Ashtanga series, and it is a call to attention. When your Ashtanga teacher calls out Samasthiti, they are asking you to bring your attention to your stance and establish a firm and equal posture. This is what BKS Iyengar was talking about when he said that you don't yet know how to stand. The idea behind Tadasana, Samasthiti, is that every part of your body is engaged and active, and every part is in balance and symmetrical. We're striving for equilibrium here. The instructions for a successful Tadasana are seemingly endless, and it takes a huge amount of effort, concentration, and body awareness. If we could master this one pose, we really would have yoga down. We're going to cover the basics and see if we can achieve some of that equilibrium that the great Iyengar was talking about. Normally we'd start at the top of the mat, but just for the sake of filming here, I'm in the center of mine, and so you can see. Every asana starts with our feet. This is our point of contact with the ground, and this is where we gain our strength and our equilibrium from. Traditionally, your toes and your heels will touch, but it depends very much on your anatomy as to the position you can comfortably hold. It's okay to have a little space. The idea is that the long toe, the second toe, is pointing straight forward, and your weight is equally on what we call the 4 corners. So basically you rock backwards and forwards until you feel your center of gravity acting down through equally. Then you spread your toes, you spread your feet as wide as you can, and you lengthen your feet forward. So your feet are as wide as they possibly can be, and they're planted squarely and firmly on the floor. Now, in Tadasana, according to Iyengar, your weight is slightly more on your heels, so you've got this slight lifting. This does allow the spread of your toes, so it can be useful to rock backwards and forwards till you feel the equilibrium, feel when you're square, then just bring your weight slightly back towards your heels. The next thing we have to focus on is our calves. Calf muscles have to be engaged. We're not rolling them out and we're not rolling them in. Instead, the calves are pushing forward, so they're engaged and they're slightly leaning forward. This will tend to bring that weight back off your heels more onto the balls of your toes. We're going to counteract that in a moment with our thigh action, but for now, remember the position of your feet and slightly bring your calves forward. They're engaged, and have the idea that your calves are pushing against the back of your tibia and fibula. This will also strengthen and engage your kneecap. At no point should your kneecaps roll out, roll in, or drop. They should all be engaged. Now our thigh muscles. We engage the quadriceps and the hamstring at the same time. You're going to get, if anything, a roll inwards so that the very front of your thigh is facing directly forwards, and your center of your leg is positioned so that again the weight is coming down slightly more on the heels than it is on the balls of the feet. So again, the engagement of all the muscles of the legs, the hams and the quadriceps come into play. They're tight, they're facing forward. You can't help but tighten your glutes, but we're going to come to that in a moment. And then with all the leg muscles engaged, we look for that center of gravity rolling right down to the heel. Everything engaged, everything square, everything pointing forwards. At this stage, it's very important to remember to breathe. We're focusing on a huge number of muscles in our body already, but we still need to breathe. Now, keeping all those other muscles engaged at the same time, what we do now is we concentrate on our pelvis. And what we're going to do, as we said, the thighs are rolling slightly inwards at the front so that we've got this facing forward. Next, what we're going to do is we're going to roll our sacrum underneath. We're going to tilt our pelvis. We're going to do a little video on anterior and posterior pelvic tilt, but for now, imagine your tailbone tucking underneath your butt and the front of your pelvis coming up towards your navel. So there's this twisting motion. It's very subtle, but you can certainly feel it. The tendency is to clench your buttocks and squeeze them together. We don't want that. Thighs are engaged, calves facing forward again, remember. The buttocks are going to be tight, but try and relax them and scoop your tailbone in this kind of direction. So you've got this. This will naturally suck your abdomen in. It's really good for your abdominal muscles. And as you saw from the other video, I need a bit of toning in my stomach because my belly tends to flop out. I'm not hugely overweight, but I don't have a lot of good muscle tone. This position is very useful for that. So thighs coming together at the front, separating slightly, buttocks relaxed, pelvis is tilting backwards, sacrum coming underneath, and the front of your pelvis up towards your belly button, which is going to naturally engage, not tighten and crunch, but to engage your abdominal muscles. The next thing that we have to work on is we have all this done, all this position here, our pelvis is tucked under, as we said, our thighs are forward, our calves and top thighs are pushing us, our calves and buttocks are tending to move us forward, where the contraction of our thighs is equalizing and bringing us backwards so that the weight is again on our heels. Pelvis turned up this way. Now what we have to do is move our upper body. Now a lot of people, when they move their upper body, will tend to bring the front chest up higher. What we're going to do is lift the whole of the torso up. The rib cage is going to come up equally, front and back. Now this is over an exaggeration of the shoulders, but the movement is that the chest will rise up equally and lengthen the body. You'll hear about the side body. In a lot of positions we're going to do, you'll hear about lengthening your side body. In downward dog, it's extremely important to lengthen your side body rather than just push with your hands, and we'll come to that. This action, straightening, leveling, and raising ourselves up. And you are now like a toy soldier, I guess. But your sternum is rising up, but it's not leaving your rear rib cage behind. The whole thing is coming up. It's as if you're being lifted up by your armpits. If you can imagine somebody strong behind you lifting you up through your armpits. That's the best way I can imagine to bring it. We're going to deal with the shoulders in a moment, but for now, visualize being lifted up by your armpits and your chest is naturally expanding, your sternum is coming out. Again, your stomach muscles are going to be engaged but not crunched. you need to be able to breathe. So now we have our feet spread out, we have our calves to think of, our knees are engaged, not dropping, our thighs and hamstrings are engaged, our pelvis is turned, our abdominals are engaged, and our body is coming up. And you start to see the complexity of the position and how much there is to concentrate on, and you start to get a feel of just how difficult this position is. But for now, focus on those half a dozen things that I've delineated so far. So next, the shoulders. What we're going to do is, as we lift this whole body up, we're going to drop our shoulders down away from our ears. Now the natural tendency as you drop them is to let the rest of the rib cage drop, so you have to still imagine the guy behind you lifting you up through your armpits, but your shoulders now come backwards slightly and drop down. You're pushing them away from your ears. Your scapula are going to come more towards each other like this. This is the part of the action of opening the sternum, and they're naturally going to come back. What you want to do when you have full alignment is get somebody to check your earlobe, the centre of your shoulder, the centre of your pelvis, the pivot point, centre of your knees, and your heels are in a straight line. You can get somebody to check that alignment for you. So you have the rib cage extended, the shoulders come back slightly and down, and then we sharpen the fingers down towards the ground. Hands are, what is that? Half a foot, 9 inches maybe across, away from your hips. Depends on your musculature, to be honest with you. If you're quite bulky up top and strong latissimus, they're going to be a little bit further away. But the key thing is lift from the armpits, shoulders roll down and back, head up, you're looking straight forward at around about eye level. Then you do a quick body check, your feet position, your calves pushing forward, your knees engage, your patella up, your thigh bone, your thighs rolling slightly inwards, pushing forward, weight still on your heels, pelvis turned, your sacrum tucked under, your front pelvis towards your navel, stomach engaged, rib caged up as high as it can go, shoulders back and down, fingers pointing, head erect, and breathe. We're starting to get the position. This is the basics of Tadasana. And there's a lot, and remembering to breathe and being focused is where the difficulty of this position comes in. So that's it, Tadasana. There's a lot to it. You can do a great deal more research. You can look into, there's pretty much every muscle in the body has a particular position. And Iyengar talks about moving the skin of certain areas of your body in a particular way. It's more a visualization, but also in this you can do some of the bandhas, which we may do a video on those later. But for now, scan your body with all those things in mind as much as you can. But whenever you come to Tadasana or Samasthiti, be at the front of your mat, be aware, be conscious, be mindful. It's body awareness. They say that yoga is a work in as opposed to a workout in the gym. It's an inward journey. You're focusing, you're going to practice what we call pratyahara, withdrawal of senses. You're going to completely focus on your own body. Your practice is deeply personal and it's centered within. So Tadasana is a really good way to focus on every part of your body, be fully body aware, be spatially aware as far as proprioception is concerned, and then you focus on your breathing, and the rest of it's going to flow. Having this mindfulness to hold this position with all of those key parts in place is going to give you a real bump start into your meditation and into your mindfulness. So that's it. Next we're going to do chair. Carry on.